Hello and welcome to Crooked House Gaming. Here at Crooked House Gaming, we like to explore the gameplay of simulation games, usually through a series of Let's Plays. In this episode, we continue to explore the gameplay of Democracy 4. Democracy 4 is a political sim that lets you choose the role of a world leader and govern a country. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, be sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here, welcome. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss any future episodes. Today, we're going to continue to explore our gameplay as Prime Minister of Spain. When I hit that button, we will be entering the first term of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down. Health is up. Crime is down. Terror attack. Our nation's capital has been turned into a war zone with a series of coordinated terrorist attacks. Suicide bombers drove innocent people into the gunfire of shooters waiting for them to flee from the explosions. Hundreds of innocent citizens have died and you were left no option but to declare a state of emergency across the country to fight terrorism. Civil liberties have been suspended until the safety of the electorate is assured. Everyone is unhappy at negative 22%. Tourism is down at negative 25%. The Patriots are unhappy at negative 25%. Patriot memberships have increased at plus 11%. Liberalism has gone down at a negative 9%. Religious plot. Our security services have been watching the group of religious extremists known as Angels of Heavenly Justice for some time, and recent statements by their leader have given us cause for concern. The organization has become more militant, often advocating violence and direct attacks against enemies of God, specifically your government. We believe this represents a material threat to our security and we should keep a close watch on them. Angels of Heavenly Justice threat assessment is a 15. The Evangelical Alliance threat assessment is a 6. The Liberal League's threat assessment is a 1. The Defenders of the Flag threat assessment is a 1. The Diversity Alliance threat assessment is a 1, and the Traditional Values Regiment threat assessment is a 2. Alcohol abuse. The phenomenon known as alcohol abuse has apparently subsided. Polls report your approval rating is disappointing. If we believe the polls, you would get just 0% of the vote. Economic forecast. Good news, the global economy is doing well and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as loyal. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be passable. Budget report. We have a small budget deficit of 2.50 billion euro. We will need to address this at some stage. Security services are an essential tool to the fight against organized crime and terrorism. Good, reliable intelligence can be difficult and expensive to obtain, and in many cases the methods employed can be unpopular with liberals and human rights advocates. This is 31% popular with the vote, but we have had terrorist attacks in our country. This will address crime, organized crime, and the terrorist situation that is going on right now. We will use 2 political capital for this. We will apply the changes. CCTV cameras can be a great help catching criminals, and the camera also deters crime. The installation costs are extremely high, and there are concerns about civil rights for people who don't like to feel that the government is constantly watching them. This is 56% popular with the vote. This will lower crime, violent crime, and this will increase conservatism. We will spend 3 political capital to make our CCTV cameras widespread. We will apply the changes. Armed police. Arming the police officers can be an effective strategy in deterring crime and maintaining order. Opponents would argue that this encourages criminals to use firearms. In a criminals arms race, critics also worry that arming the police will distance them from law-abiding citizens. This is 41% popular with the vote. We're having terrorist attacks in our country. This will lower organized crime, violent crime, will also reduce unemployment. We will spend 3 political capital to increase this. We will apply the changes. We have 3 political capital to spend. As more of our lives are led online and tracking everyone's action and movements becomes easier, some people argue that the right to privacy, both from government and corporations, is essential despite the impact that it would have on corporate profits or law enforcement. We are lowering this due to our terrorist attacks. We will spend 2 political capital. We will apply the changes. We have 1 political capital to spend. Junk food tax. A punitive tax rate charged on unhealthy foods such as takeaway hamburgers, fizzy drinks, and high sugar or fat content pre-processed foods, levied with the aim of improving the health of the nation but can be unpopular. This is 0% popular with the vote. I just put a lot of money into our security force. We need to raise some money to recoup. We are going to increase the junk food tax from 49% to 58%. We'll spend 1 political capital. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our first term of our 4th year as Prime Prime Minister of Spain. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the second term of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain. Let's see how we did. The GDP is down. Failed assassination attempt. Secret Service earned their pay today when they arrested a carload of what appeared to be religious fanatics planning an attack on you and the cabinet. A van filled with explosives and small arms was stopped by our vigilant police. After intelligence intercepted by our security personnel, it seems that a number of religious extremists determined to remove the current government. This lot called themselves the Army of God. Business confidence is down at -8%. Campaign speeches are available. The election draws near and you may want to take some time out from government to hold a campaign rally and deliver a speech. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation. Media monopoly on our hands if we do not act soon. Polls report. Polls do not look good. Our last poll put us at 0% of the vote in an election. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as supportive. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be passable. Intelligence experts express concern about a large, credible threat from the Angels of Heavenly Justice, an extremist religious organization which has been making a high number of specific threats against the government. Economic forecast. Good news, the global economy is doing well and this is having a positive effect on our GDP. Budget report. We currently have a minor budget deficit of 2 billion euro, but this is not a cause for major concern. Let's take a look at our security briefing. The Evangelical Alliance threat assessment is a 14. The Angel of Heavenly Justice threat assessment is a 15. The Traditional Values Regiment is a threat assessment of 2. The Diversity Alliance is a threat assessment of 2. The Environmental Alliance is a threat assessment of 1. Defenders of the Flag is a threat assessment of 3. The Campaign for Family Values is a threat assessment of 1. The Liberal League is a threat assessment of 1. The Sustainability Trust is a threat assessment of 1. Security services are an essential tool in the fight against organized crime and terrorism. Good, reliable intelligence can be difficult and expensive to obtain, and in many cases the methods employed can be unpopular with liberals and human rights advocates. We did have a failed assassination attempt that was stopped by our intelligence services. We are going to invest more into our intelligence services. We will invest 2 political capital to increase our high-tech spy service. We will apply the changes. Police drones, unmanned aerial reconnaissance vehicles similar to remote control planes which can be employed by the police force. The eye in the sky is a useful way to keep track on mobs and rioters and allows for subtle yet effective surveillance. The police see it as a vital tool in modern crime fighting, but there is concern that this is a step further towards a Big Brother style surveillance society where everyone is tracked. This is 51% popular with the vote. This will lower organized crime, violent crime, and crime in general. We are investing 1 political capital. We will apply the changes. CCTV cameras can be a great help in catching criminals, and cameras also deter crime. The installation costs are extremely high and there are concerns about civil rights from people who don't like to feel the government is constantly watching them. This is 51% popular with the vote. We're going to spend 3 political capital to increase this. This will lower crime and violent crime. We will apply the changes. We have 4 political capital to spend. Because we spent so much on intelligence services, we cannot give a speech, nor can we do Manifesto Promises. Technology grants. The government can provide state funding to encourage business to invest in new and exciting technologies. Although this helps give us a competitive advantage and can create jobs, it can be argued that it is an unnecessary distortion of the market, but this is 100% popular with the vote. This will help the GDP. This will help our uncompetitive economy. This will reduce unemployment. We will spend 2 political capital to increase this to medium. We will apply the changes. We have 2 political capital to spend. Junk food tax, a punitive tax charged on unhealthy foods such as takeaway hamburgers, fizzy drinks, and high sugar or fat content pre-processed food, levied with the aim of improving the health of the nation but can be unpopular. This is 0% popular with the vote. We are going to increase this from 58% to 66%. We will spend 1 political capital. We will apply the changes. We have 1 political capital to spend. Plastic bag tax. Plastic bags, unlike paper ones, are not biodegradable, so can last more or less forever, eventually ending up in huge unsightly landfill sites. A tax on bags discourages their use and encourages people to reuse stronger and more environmentally friendly alternatives. Capitalists just see this as the state meddling. This is 25% popular with the vote. We we will spend 1 political capital to increase this to high. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our second term of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the 3rd term of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain. Let's see how we did. Appoint senior judge. There is an urgent policy question that requires your immediate attention. One of our most senior and respected judges has died, and we now need to make a choice for his replacement amongst the nominated candidates. This individual will sit in our courts for a very long time, so we must make the right decision. Appoint Edgar Lopez. Edgar Lopez is seen as a strong supporter of human rights and making many landmark rulings in favor of individuals' rights and liberties. He is also seen as being strongly pro-consumer and not afraid to challenge large corporations. Appoint Alice Reed. Alice Reed is a household name thanks to her famous rulings concerning violent crimes and her often outspoken views on harsh sentences that she feels should be applied to thieves, muggers, and shoplifters. We are going to appoint Alice Reed. The Patriots are happy at plus 11%. The Conservatives are happy at plus 11%. Crime is down at negative 8%. Violent crime is down at negative 5%. And Liberals are unhappy at negative 5%. Religious plot. Our security services have been watching a group of religious extremists known as Angels of Heavenly Justice for some time, and recent statements by their leader has given us cause for concern. The organization has become more militant, often advocating violence and direct attacks against the enemies of God, specifically your government. We believe this represents a material threat to our security. We should keep a close watch on them. While they only have a membership of 335 people, their threat assessment is maximum. The Evangelical Alliance threat assessment is a 15. The Liberal League's threat assessment is a 1. Campaign for Human Values threat assessment is a 1. Defenders of the Flag threat assessment is a 3. The Environmental Alliance threat assessment is a 1. The Diversity Alliance threat assessment is a 2. Rural Alliance threat assessment is a 1. Traditional Values Regiment is a threat assessment of a 2. True Patriots threat assessment is a 5. Political Defense Brigade threat assessment is a 2. Our security effectiveness is adequate. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation, environmental protests on our hands if we do not act soon. Polls report your approval rating is disappointing. If we believe the polls, you would get just 1% of the vote. The election is drawing nearer. We currently have 1,457 members of the Progressive Fascist Party. The opposition party has more members than us. Cabinet report. The loyalty of your ministers can best be described as supportive. Their effectiveness is generally considered to be passable. Budget report. We currently have a minor budget deficit of 3.9 billion euro, but this is not a major cause for concern. Our transport minister is very unhappy with us, and while he is with the Conservatives and the Socialists, we're going to fire him. It costs 0 political capital to fire him. We are going to hire Ana Paula Ferrer for transportation minister. We are going to fire Noah Campos from public service. We are going to hire Constanza Gonzalez for the position of public service. And we're going to fire our tax minister, Maria Camila Campos, for tax minister. We are going to fire the law and order minister. We are going to hire Maria Camila Vincente for law and order. Pardon me if I'm mangling these people's names. And welfare minister, we're firing him as well. We are hiring Francisco Ramos and the economy minister as well. We just fire everybody. There's nobody suitable right now and nobody loyal. We are going to hire Amy Morales for the position. We have 10 political capital to spend. We are going to give speeches. We're going to give a speech to the religious. The religious views of us is increased at plus 15%. We have 1 political capital to spend. Police drones, unmanned aerial reconnaissance vehicles similar to remote control planes, which can be employed by the police force. The eye in the sky is a useful way to keep track of mobs and rioters and allows for subtle yet effective surveillance. The police see it as a vital tool for modern crime fighting, but there are concerns that this is a step further towards Big Brother style surveillance society where everyone is tracked. This is for 49% popular with the vote. We're going to increase this to address our organized crime, violent crime, and crime in general. We will spend 1 political capital. We will apply the changes. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our 3rd term of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain. Let's hit that button. We will now be entering the 4th term of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain. Let's see how we did. Crime is down. National team wins World Cup. The national football team has won the World Cup, delighting fans across the country. It may not lead to any long-term tangible benefits, but a wave of goodwill in our people is most welcome. Everyone is happy at plus 20%. The Patriots are happy at plus 12%. New major party donor. Your fundraising efforts have managed to attract a new wealthy individual to donate to your future campaign fund. Make sure you keep this donor happy and pay attention to the groups they sympathize with. If the donor becomes unhappy, there's a chance you will lose their vital financial support. I'm thinking this is Emilio Ramirez. He's with state employees and the commuters. Campaign speeches are available. The election draws near, and you may want to take some time out from the government to hold a campaign rally and deliver a speech. Manifesto Promises are available. The election is upon us, and we might want to take the opportunity to improve our support by making manifesto promises to the electorate. Situation imminent. Our data is showing that we have a potentially bad situation, obesity on our hands, if we do not act soon. The government is currently running a deficit of 4.56 billion euro. We should take steps to reduce this. Polls report the government is not so popular amongst its citizens. Only 0% of them intend to vote for you in the next election. We have 10 political capital to spend. Let's take a look at Manifesto Promises. We're going to promise human development. We will pledge 1 political capital to do so. Your election pledge has been announced and will have an immediate effect on voter happiness. Everyone is happy at plus 3%. We have 9 political capital to give a speech to the Conservatives. Their happiness level is a 49%. We will give a speech to the self-employed. Their happiness level is a 27. We will give a speech to the capitalists. Their happiness is a 41%. Let's give a speech. The capitalist views of us has increased to plus 15%. The socialist views of us has gone down at negative 5%. Self-employed's view of us has gone up plus 10%. Trade unionists have gone down at negative 10%. Conservatives' views have gone up plus 10%. The liberals' views of us have gone down at negative 5%. We have 0 political capital to spend, and thus we are at the end of our 4th term, of our 4th year as Prime Minister of Spain, and I believe we are going into the election. Let's hit that button. When I hit this button, we will be going into the election for the new Prime Minister of Spain. Let's see how we did. Let us start the count. The leader of the New Moderates Party is now the new Prime Minister of Spain. They got 50.3% of the vote. The Freedom Brigade got 27.4% of the vote. We were voted out as Prime Minister of Spain. And this is the end of our episode. Thank you so much for stopping by our Crooked House. If you like what you saw, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you want to follow our future episodes. It really helps us out. Have a great week. See you soon as we retire to obscurity.